Hey, everybody, it's Winter with the Shift Spotlight, and today we are here with Todd Krause. He is the owner and manager of the cleaningauthority.com and /Fishers. So you are in the Fishers location, which is in Indianapolis, correct?
Yes, that is.
All right. Well, before we dive into what you do and how you do it, why don't you tell us an interesting fact about yourself that people may not know?
Years ago, when a friend and I went to camp at Devil's Lake State Park in Wisconsin, one evening while we were climbing the South Bluff to watch the sunset, I actually fell off the South Bluff.
Oh my
I
gosh.
landed in a tree, which is what saved me from falling into the boulder field at the base of the bluff. More shaken up and surprised than anything. So
Wow. That
ever
is an
since a few
interesting
experiences
fact.
like that, I've concluded that while everybody else gets a guardian angel, in my case, I needed a team of guardian angels.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So you didn't sustain any long-term injuries.
No, I didn't. I was just shocked and surprised.
Oh, wow. Like you hear about those stories, but you never think that could happen to you.
Oh, it did. Some pine needles on the top of the ledge were all it took for my hand to slip, and next thing I know, I was falling backward.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. That is crazy. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're healthy and you're here with us today. So, at a high level, why don't you tell our listeners what it is you do?
I have a number of businesses, but probably my largest one is the Cleaning Authority office in Fishers,
Okay.
Indiana. We currently have about 25 teams. We've got 60 people here from 14 different Central and South American countries. Everybody is Spanish speaking. The office is Spanish speaking. Managers are bilingual. I can speak Spanish. I wouldn't quite rate myself as bilingual.
Right.
And we've had a lot of success with growing the office and attracting customers.
And so, is this a franchise?
It is. It is part of the Authority Brands,
Okay.
which currently, at last count, owns something like 14 or 15 different brands.
So, what motivated you to buy into a franchise?
At the time I bought it, I had lost my position with Domus on March 6, 2020, just as we were going into the COVID
Right.
lockdowns. I did what I always do. I looked around for something to buy, something to start, and another corporate position. This came along. I looked at it. I thought the numbers and the market it was in were very attractive. At the time, my wife reacted like, a cleaning business? But once we started making those daily deposits, she went, a cleaning business.
That's funny. So we know that running a business is hard, even if you get support on a franchise level. And there are going to be a million things you do wrong when running a business. But before we dive into those, why don't we talk about something that you did right?
What I did right is I fixed the culture. That was my biggest fear when I took over is would the staff accept me as the new owner? And what I learned is that they weren't treated particularly well in the past, and they didn't really have any loyalty to anyone at that point.
Mm,
But just coming in and treating them like human beings, treating them with respect and dignity, treating them like they're important. They're an important part of what we do.
right.
That really turned things around and quickly.
So, and that is very important. And people want to be treated like people. How many employees do you actually have?
60,
60 employees that are on the
yes,
W-2s.
all W-2, that's correct.
Wow. So, how many managers or leaders do you have out of those 60 employees?
5.
Five. Okay. And so, what strategies do you use to build strong and effective teams that can support your day-to-day operations? Because obviously, you can't manage all those 60 people and expect it to run flawlessly.
Well, I don't manage them. The managers manage them, and the managers largely run the business. I have 2 jobs. I come in and I ask a lot of annoying questions, and occasionally they let me get the mail. But the strategies are really about paying them well for what they do, giving them bonuses that align their work with what our customers want. It puts them into control of their paycheck.
Mm,
And they get that money on Friday on their paycheck.
hmm.
It's open, it's transparent, it's measurable. Everybody can point to it and say, okay, we got this many great jobs from our customers. We got this many Google reviews. I know what my bonus is going to be
Mm,
for achieving those milestones.
right, right. So as you've scaled your business and you've grown your employee base, what challenges have taken you by surprise and how have you handled them?
You have to change your way of thinking. You reach a point where, as you get larger, the impact of small decisions is large. You talk
That's
about a
that's that's well
1%.
said. That's very well said. I want you to repeat that again in case anybody missed it.
The impact of small changes or adjustments is huge. We're at a size where a 1% adjustment in the cost of delivering our services or the cost of our equipment or our supplies adds up to tens of thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
It doesn't sound like much until you start to calculate what the impact is on cash flow and the bottom line.
Hmm. Hmm. So, as an owner, a visionary, if you'll call it, businesses break for two reasons: their process or people. And so, what do you do to maintain, attract, and retain the right people for your business?
What we really look for is their attitude and their desire. You can train on skills. You can train on all the technical stuff, but it is incredibly difficult to adjust an attitude that's not aligned with what we want to do, or it's incredibly difficult to motivate somebody who's not really interested in what we do.
Hmm. Hmm. So, what are the top things affecting your particular industry, either positively or negatively right now?
Well, they're definitely feeling the squeeze of the inflation. When we look at our costs and we say, well, we need to raise prices $5 or $10, you would think, well, $5 or $10 isn't much. But and the consumer saying, well, my electric bill went up $15, my gas bill went up $20, my water bill went up $10. And by the time you add it all up, it's hitting their pocketbook for another $200 to $300 every month.
Yeah.
And then when we come along and say, well, everything's gotten more expensive, we need to ask for $5 or $10 more. We're just one more thing piling on top of all of that.
Right. So, what has been the most difficult part of your CEO journey?
I think probably the most difficult part was to get the managers to understand and live and breathe my philosophy and my point of view. There are many, many discussions early on where I would say, okay, can we get together in the break room and just talk a few things through? And here's some examples of what could have worked better.
Hmm.
Then finally, over a period of months, I had that hallelujah moment when I heard them echoing what I had said all along. And they were looking at the cleaners as an asset and somebody that's important to us, not just somebody you got to manage, you got to keep them in line because they're always getting in trouble.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you maintain a work-life balance while leading a company?
We really do it through scheduling. Our customers really don't want us cleaning in the evenings. And if they do want us cleaning on the weekends, it's typically Saturday and early on Saturday. That right there is somewhat self-limiting. And then the managers themselves came up with a schedule where they stagger their own schedules a little bit. Who stays late to close out the day, or who comes in early to start the day.
Hmm. So, where do you see the future of your industry heading?
It's not going away. It's definitely something that people want. It's in the same category as cell phones, internet. Once you have it, you don't want to give it up. The people who do they're really stretched financially.
Mm-hmm.
We're focusing on it's real easy still to get the high-end customer because their budgets aren't as impacted by what has happened in our economy.
Right.
But we also have to adjust by making sure that we maintain very, very high quality standards.
Yeah. And tell us, you've got an interesting background. Tell us a little bit about your background before owning this franchise.
I came out of school. I wanted to do a high-powered finance job. I ended up in accounting. And then after working for the Crown Family Office in Chicago, I ended up in alternative investments.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent pretty much the rest of my career swimming around in operational finance and accounting with hedge funds, private equity funds, structured products. I lived and breathed a lot of the deal making. So I could really see what made a company work and what caused it to fail
Mm-hmm.
from a very analytical point of view. Half of that
The
life
chart
was
behind you tells me how analytical you are, by the way.
that's where I've scribbled up what we're trying to achieve in 2024 and explained it to all the managers exactly. But I've been half on the asset manager side of the world and half on the administrator side, where you service the funds that asset managers create.
Right, right. So how do you think those skill sets prepared you for the role that you're in today?
One of those companies I was with, it was like running little businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Inside of the company,
Mm-hmm.
we were running the funds or we were running some sort of a business unit. So it was a fairly natural transition from running a small business inside of a company to, okay, I just don't have that umbrella of the large company wrapped around me, and I'm still running a business.
Right.
We have a P&L, we have assets that we have to take care of, we have liabilities we've got to make sure that we're current on.
Yeah. So you were like the Axe Capital in Billions, right? Did you ever watch that show?
I can't say that I ever have.
Okay. Well, I'm late to the party. I think it was like 2012, but yeah, it's a interesting show. I think you probably especially would find it interesting. So, are you are you happy where you are? Do you have plans to grow? What is in the future for your franchise?
A couple of things. We've already doubled the size of the franchise in 2.5, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I see potential for it to grow another 40, 50%.
Mm-hmm.
There's other ways to grow buying additional territories. I'm in the process of over a long period of time selling the business to my managers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing. I told them what I needed from them back in 2021, and I made some very specific requests. I said, my thank you to you is this business will become yours.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
And I will create a path where you can become owners. This was really when I sat down and had the aha moment was after my wife passed in July of 21. And like, okay, what do I do now? And I realized we're able to really have a very positive impact on employees and on the community. We're able to take people who are somewhat disenfranchised and actually lift them up. So I'm launching out into how to take what I've done in growing this business and offer it out to other businesses.
That's amazing. I'm sorry about your wife passing, but I love what you're doing and how well you treat people. And like I said, businesses break for process or people. And if you've got the people side handled, and obviously with your analytical brain, I'm sure you got the process down too. You are well on your way. So Are you, as you continue to grow, where do you see yourself investing in resources for the next year?
We're a very people-driven business, so that's where we will continue to invest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've hit on people a lot. I'm not anti-technology. I would say that needs to be a balance between people and technology.
Mm-hmm.
Technology does not replace relationships.
Right.
That's still a people thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you had to do it all over, speaking to a younger self, a less experienced self, what would your advice be?
To be more confident in my abilities and not wait so long to actually do what I'm capable of doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I know it's easier to say that, looking in the rear view mirror sometimes, but what is the best piece of advice that you've received as a leader?
When I worked for Michael Sachs at Harris Associates, he said, if you want to succeed, I've always got to approach each and every single job as if you are the owner and how would you want it done?
Mm,
And to what level of quality and completeness would you want that job performed? And that has always, always been fantastic advice.
I love that. Is there a book or a podcast or a resource that you would recommend to another CEO?
I very much like A Monk in a Riddle,
Mm,
Randy Commissar. He talks about the two different ways of approaching business. A lot of his stuff has been turned into quotes. He talks about doing what we have to so we can do what we want to as one approach, or doing what we're passionate about, and then it doesn't feel like we're working.
right.
That's not new, but he says it very succinctly and weaves it into a very easy to read story.
Yeah, I like that. I haven't heard that one yet. If somebody listening wanted to take the next step with you, what should they do?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. I also have a book, if you really want to know more details about how I got here, called Life's Ironies, My Life on the Road Less Traveled. That's available on Amazon in English and in Spanish. So if you want to know more about falling off the cliff and a few other things that happened to me, it's there.
Awesome.
I would welcome connecting with people on LinkedIn, and beyond connecting, having some real, genuine conversations.
Mm,
We
yeah,
can learn from each other.
that's right. That's what this podcast is all about. It's everybody in a leader role of some level. They share similar struggles, and some go about handling it one way, some go about handling it another. And this podcast is put together truly to empower visionary CEOs, business owners, everybody in the grind, everybody just trying to figure it out. And hopefully somebody gets a nugget out of one of these podcasts that are out there and they're able to do something with it. So we highly believe in connection and those relations. So it sounds like you're open to people reaching out to you for just about any questions related to business, it sounds like.
I am. And I love it because I learn something from them too.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I think you learned from me today that Billions is a show you should watch.
Okay. It sounds like an interesting show.
All right. Well, we've very much enjoyed having you today and look forward to seeing what your book is all about. We'll actually put that in the description so if people are interested in it, they can click there and find it.
Thank you very much. It's been great. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.